Hello everybody, welcome to episode 44 of Let's Play SimCity 4. Today what we're going to do is click on a square that is not even connected to another square that we've built. This one. And we're going to build a new city here. And of course you're probably thinking, why? That's very random. And I'm building there for a very specific reason. And I'll show you that reason in just a second here. What I'm going to do on the small square is create an island city. Just because I want to. Do I really need another reason other than that? I think not. So we're going to start out with some regular water here, and we're just going to have some fun with hills. We'll start with that. Rise this mesa, whatever the heck it's called, up. Some mountains. We're not going to leave it like that. We're going to weather it. We're just going to make a nice little island. Not that little though. We wanted it to be a little bit bigger. I think it's always fun to make little islands that are totally self-sustaining little places here. Where there's only so much room you can go. So much room you can go, that's not a sentence. But you know what I mean. Alright. We're going to have some erosion over here. To soften things up a little bit. Alright. And this island will be the home of a new city. We'll put some trees, even though I'm pretty sure we're going to end up knocking them down anyway. We're going to make them. So, that's good enough for me. We're going to call this Party Island. Why? Because I can. Who should be the mayor? How about Cake? Cake is a good mayor. It's delicious. How can something delicious be a bad mayor? That's what I say. Alright. Well, once upon a time, there was an island way out at sea. So the native people arrived. Or not the native people, but people on canoes arrived to colonize the island. And what did these ancient colonists do when they first got there? Why, what everyone will do, which is to build a car ferry so that they can all bring their cars over and drive around the island. This will be the main means of connecting this island with every other city. I mean, none yet, of course, because there's none directly adjoining. But we're thinking down the road here. Or should I say down the river? Slightly more accurate description here. Alright. And what else are the natives going to do? They're going to build a little natural gas power plant for their power needs. Yes, this is what all early tribes did when they first arrived on an island. They first built their car ferry, and then they built a natural gas power plant next to it. And the next thing they're going to do is delve out parcels for farming all across the island. They're going to create a road crossing the island this way, and they're going to create a road crossing the island the other way, like thusly. And they will use these two roads as the basis on which to lay out these new agricultural zones. Of course, it's going to mess up the auto roads, so I'm going to have to do it myself. Not that that's too much of a bother or anything. Alright. So yes, there we go. Some very simple general roads for the populace to lay out their farmsteads. Because somehow this little island way out to sea has the richest soil that these people have ever seen. So they're going to set up their farms here. Alright. Why didn't you build? Why did you not build? Why must you defy me? Defiance makes me sad. Obedience is what makes me happy. Everybody knows that. Apparently not you guys. Meaning whoever's doing the zoning. But let's hit the time right off. And already we see some development. That's kind of funny. This one way over there and this one way over there are the first to build. But these people decide, hey, we need a little town center. So they have a little area for shops. And a few houses. Clustered right at the center of town. Or the center of the island, I should say, because there's not really a town yet. So we'll zoom out and let our intrepid islanders build their farms. But as these canoe sailing islanders bring their family, they're like, hey, we have to make more zones for ourselves. More areas for us to live. So they zone new residential plots. So that they can all come in and enjoy this fertile, rich farmland. And yes, more and more farms are being built up. But yet more islanders are arriving. So they're like, okay, well, let's build some stuff here. Oops, you just built an orchard. Too bad. We don't like your orchard. Your orchard is history. Goodbye. And more islanders moved onto the island. Ah yes, and many nice little orchards were founded. We'll just let time go by here. But then yet more what am I saying? Islanders came. And they said, we need more zones. All our buddies have heard what a great place this island is. So we all want to live here too. So they zoned more. Now, as the islanders had kids, not all these kids wanted to grow up to be farmers. So they said, hey, it can't hurt if we zone a little commercial or industrial. Of course, the head islander decides to get a nice little mansion because he's just rolling in all the profits of all the agricultural products of the island. So they decide it can't hurt too much to build ourselves some medium density industrial so that we may be industrious people as well as agricultural. So that was built. And then a bunch of people said, hey, wouldn't it be a cool idea to live alongside the water? After all, we sailed here. We like the water. So let's build some houses on the edge of the water. So they did. They built houses on the edge of the water, where they could sit out and look on the ocean. Yes, and these industrious people, they built on and on. And they said, hey, we want to go shopping. We don't want to travel too far from the car ferry when we shop. So why don't we build a commercial district nearby? So the islanders said, oh, that's a great idea. We'll build a commercial district right here. Then someone got the idea, hey, you know what? We all tried catching raindrops in our in buckets, but it wasn't enough water, so let's build a water pump. So they did. They built a water pump. And before they knew it, water was flowing all over their island in beautiful beautiful cascading water flows or something. So the water continued to flow, and yet more people wanted to move into the island. The very fruitful endeavors of the people led to wealth and prosperity, which allowed them to have many children. And because they had many children, they all needed new homes for these children when they grew up. So they're like, we must zone yet more. Yes. Some of these fields, which don't look like they're really producing anything, will have to go. Because we are needing this area for more residences for our growing population. So they zoned yet more and more as the islanders continued their rapid growth, unchecked by anything. And so then someone said the bright idea, let's make the whole island have water. That way, no matter where we build things, people can quench their thirst. Yes, it's a wonderful thing to not be thirsty. Ask one person who has ever died of thirst if they like it. You will not get a response that states that they like it whatsoever. You're always going to get negative responses, as in, man, dying of thirst sucks. But then suddenly, oh no, we built too many houses. People are leaving our island. I know what we have to do. We have to make more industrial jobs to attract our young people back to the island on which they were born and grew up. So they zoned more industrial zones. And soon they were building factories. And they said, oh no, our commercial district is not quite large enough. So they built a medium density commercial district. And then they're thinking, well, you know, this island isn't quite as friendly as it once was. I think we need a police station on our island. So, they decide to build one right there. And then someone says, you know what? We need a fire station on our island. Yet another person says, our kids are not very smart. We need to change that. Give them a school. And then someone said, oh my goodness, everyone's getting sick. We need to build a medical facility. So they did. Now that all these things had been created, the island was attracting more and more people. So they built more residential on this wonderful island they had. Then someone said, oh man, our people are not happy. They don't have much to do, so let's give them a soccer field. There, they say. There we go. And they say, we're not satisfied. Give us a skateboard park. So they did. They gave them a skateboard park. And they said, build us more stuff. More. So they built a gazebo. And they built more commercial right off the boat. As soon as you arrive in the city, you can go shopping in your favorite stores. Because now all the major chains had arrived to Party Island. And the people are feeling a sense of spiritual emptiness. So they created their own church, located on the side of the water. And yet more people are moving on to this wonderful island. So they build yet more zones by the water. Until someone comes along and builds them even closer to the water. And they say, oh man, we need more. We need more. The insatiable thirst for development captivates the people of Party Island as they build more and more stuff. New roads are built downtown. Areas are filled in. And a lot of the original canoers are old and dying. Very sad. So they need a cemetery. The cemetery is built over there. So they say, oh no, these dead islanders will be lonely, so we must move in close to them. And we must ignore all complaints of other stuff that our so-called advisors are so-called advising us about. And now, all these canoe-rowing people have so many cars that traffic has jammed up on some of their major roads. But they don't care very much at the time being. They're just going to zone more. More zoning. More. And so the islanders say, we want more commercial zones right downtown. We want more gardens and parks and other things. And then someone said, why should we have to go all the way to the other side of the island if we want to work in our industrial jobs? We should be able to work on them on this side. So someone said, sure, that's reasonable. So more factories were built over here. Then someone said, what if I wanted to drive my car from this side of the island? I should be able to do that if I want to. So they said, okay, fine. And they built another car and passenger terminal right on the other side of the island. And people were happy. They said, oh my, we need to build shopping. because people right off the boat are going to be thirsty and hungry and have an insatiable craving for all the newest fashion trends. They need shopping. So it was built, and they needed more factories. More factories to make the worldly goods. And so they built, and they built, and they built some more. Until suddenly, with one final stroke of development, they realized our wonderful agricultural island no longer has any farms, except for that one, which we don't talk about. But yes, they realized that their city, their island, had turned into one big urban mess. And they all shrugged their shoulders and said, "Oh well, there you go. I guess that's progress." And thus, Party Island became the rip-roaring place that we know today. And everybody lived happily ever after, except the farmers. They got back in their canoes and they just canoed themselves off somewhere else. The end. Well, that's the end of my story. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. And oh, look, a mansion. Let's look at the mansion. So yes, more improvements will come to this island in the future, but for now, I think we got the basics together. If you want to suggest a name for a street on this island, you may do so. However, there are 2 stipulations I will put on your suggestions. First of all, your suggestions must only have 5 letters. No more, no less. So, suggest street names with 5 letters. Also, you're only allowed to suggest 1. Yep, that's right, just 1. And I will make your streets later. So, hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you all later. So long.